to Fuji International Speedway and for round 11 of the Audi R8 LMS Cup. We're already seeing opening race for today in the morning with reigning champion and current points leader Alex Young taking the victory and extension in the points lead at this very famous track. Situated below the Mount Fuji, Fuji International Speedway has been in operation for more than 50 years and featured one of the longest straights in world motorsport. And this is our second year here at Fuji International Speedway, but conditions are a lot different to what we've experienced last year, where the temperature was in mid-30s. And today is a lot cooler, which make the cars faster and our drivers much more comfortable to prepare for their race too. Now it's our time to cross over to our commentators.
Thanks, Sophie. It's been a fantastic weekend here so far this weekend, and a nice job to Alex Young to extend his championship points lead, as Sophie explained. Temperatures here are much cooler. It's working well for the cars. They're performing better, in fact, than last year. Temperatures in the mid-30s, and also the drivers, a lot cooler for them to be able to prepare for today's second race. And whilst heat has been a big thing in the past with the championship, drivers have been able to cope with increases in temperature inside the cabins, which can get to as high as 60 degrees, by modifying the cooling that they have within their race suits. And we can hear more about that from drivers like Daniel Bilski right now.
Japan is consistently one of the hottest circuits on the calendar, with the tropical heat and humidity creating oppressive conditions for the drivers. And with races in Taiwan last time out also held in soaring temperatures, the heat is increasingly an element the drivers must tackle head-on. Our reporter Mark Dreyer takes a look.
I start training intensively for the hot condition race already 2 weeks before. I switch off the aircon at home just to do the same amount of endurance training so that my body get used to this temperature.
I basically do 5 sessions a week. I do 2 sessions with a personal trainer on strength, flexibility, Pilates, core work, neck work. 2 sessions with a physio on flexibility, and then another cardio session in the heat up the peak in Hong Kong, just to really push myself for a couple of hours in those conditions.
At the hottest part of the day, temperatures here can reach more than 35 degrees Celsius. Track temperatures can hit 60 degrees, and inside the car, it can be close to 70. That makes it incredibly tough for these drivers to stay focused as they tear around the circuit at speeds of up to 260 kilometers per hour.
There's many incidents happened in the hot race. It's not related to the cars, it's just pure because the driver itself get tired and emotionally and also completely mixed up.
It can be quite dangerous, and we've seen in races before where drivers will start to hallucinate.
You can do 25 minutes and make okay, you can do a good job, but after that, the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes becomes very difficult. They lose concentration, their blood pressure rises, the heart rate rises, and they can't make decisions. So it's very important they stay cool.
I must say Taiwan was the hottest race I ever experienced in my life.
I think Taiwan, I was dropping 3 kilos per race.
Luckily, we are here in Sepang, 1 race after Taiwan. So now we are feeling here is like in Switzerland.
Fortunately in Taiwan I managed to get my cool shirt brought over. The cool shirt works because it's got piping woven through the fabric, which basically then connects to a cool box with ice and water in it, with a motor in it, and that pumps cool water through the vest.
In the hot condition, the tires warm faster than the cold condition. And also in the cold condition, when the tire up to temperature and the pressure, actually the grip level is better than in the hot condition.
It takes 2 to 3 laps to be at full temperature. And when you look at qualification, the best lap is normally done in the second, third, maybe 4th laps.
Heat is a performance killer. Engines like a cool air charge into the motor. The hotter the air coming in, the less power you make. Tyres, again, with the surface temperatures we have here, the tyre degradation is much faster.
If the driver can manage the tyre well on the first lap, it will pay back at the end of the run.
And the drivers certainly needed a cool pack last year here at Fuji. It was absolutely roasting, but as you can see, it's nice and cool here for today. For our second race, it is round 11 which is 16 laps, 73 kilometres long. And round 11 will be looking like this. We'll be having, and I think Alex Au surprised himself. He is the pole sitter. Marchali's quite happy because he should have a straight run into the first page. And we've got Alex Young, who was the winner of round 10. He's now in P10, followed by KOU, Jeffrey Lee, Johnson Huang, David Cheng, and right at the back there was Daniel Bilski.
It's the grid looks pretty good. It's interesting to see Alex Au, the AM class winner at this last race, who finished well down the order, but starts from pole position. That's the way it works. But we'll find out a little bit more from Renaud Koneberg, the head of Audi R8 LMS Cup, down on the grid with Sophie.
Hi Renee, welcome to the show. As we know, in race 2, our race 1 winner Alex Young started from 10th, while amateur winner Alex Au starting from pole position. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's true. What you see here for the first time is actually that you see different forms of strategy. Alex Young, he had, because he was in front, he had to use the push-to-pass function actually to defend from all the drivers are coming from the back. And he saw the guys, actually Alex Au, but also Marci Lee and Stefano. Here, for example, Stefano had a spin. So they were all using the push-to-pass to get one really, really fast lap in and to ensure they have a good grid and be in front of everybody else. So you see the push-to-pass function is working very well. And every driver has his own strategy. And on the grid today, you see exactly what is happening, how the different strategies are working with the push-to-pass.
Thank you so much, Renee, and we're really looking forward to see what does the push-to-pass strategy works in race 2, because they're totally different starting grid this afternoon. Now it's our time to back to our commentator.
Thanks, Sophie. You're exactly right. And I'd be a poor man, Graham Harvey, if we were talking about push-to-pass, because I thought Alex was keeping some in spare. But in fact, he used it to stay ahead of KO, and KO was using it at the same time, so they kind of eliminated each other. But what that did is it stopped Alex Young from being able to set one fast, clear lap, which of course sets the grid. That's why he's starting in position number 10. So that worked against him. But anyway, certainly push-to-pass, a great development with the Audi R8 LMS Cup.
Oh, it's brought a new dimension. I think it was started last year, and it's really brought this Audi R8 LMS Cup to the next level, because there's a game of poker in the car. You know, when do you use it? Do you defend? Do you attack? And as you saw with Alex Au, do you try and go for the fastest lap? And you end up on P1 for the second race of the weekend.
Now we have Mark Dreyer down on the grid with the AM class winner, Alex Au.
Alex, given the quality of the competition here at the field, the strong field, is this the highlight of your career, qualifying in pole position for this race?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it doesn't happen every day. I was surprised when I did it. So, yeah, hopefully I don't mess up the start and try to use a few push-to-pass to get a clear gap to stay out of the mess, if any. So.
And what's more important to you, points in the amateur division to try and climb up and take the top spot there, or just defending position overall?
Both. I'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Great. Thanks very much. Good luck. Back to you guys upstairs.
Thanks, Mark. Clearly, people wanted you off the grid because we're getting ready to go racing again. But that was a great result for Alex Au. He kind of almost, he didn't inherit pole. He certainly deserved pole and won pole and used his push to pass perfectly. But Andrew Kim, the South Korean driver, we saw him driving very, very well. But yet he had an off, and he'd had a lot of dramas with the handling of that car during qualifying. They worked all night on Friday night, or last night, to try and dial that out. But clearly with the contact he had with the wall midway through the race whilst he was leading the AM class division, that, Graham, apparently was just too difficult for the team to repair ahead of this race with the short 2-hour turnaround.
Yeah, that was quite a shame there for Andrew Kim. And as you look at the grid there, then Alex Au, the pole sitter, is on the right-hand side. There's Marci Lee. He's going to be quite happy from the start. It's a standing start this time, which means Alex Young and KOU and Sean Thong, they have dead weight coming off the grid because they were in the top 3 in the earlier race. And also, if you're on row 2, Aditya Patel and Stefano Montesi, you know that you've got an amateur class driver in front of you, so right from the start you've got to work out where you're going to go to try and get past Alex Au. But then you've got Aditya Patel and Marci Lee as well, so watch the start, because it's going to be very interesting coming down to turn 1, because the front 3 with an amateur driver as well, there could be a lot of poker being played, a lot of kind of positioning, coming around turns 1, turn 2, and I think Marchi Lee, I spoke to him after the first race, he said he wants to get to that first turn in the lead and try and push Alex Aru back a bit. Then there could be a concertina manoeuvre whereby he then, after turn 1, can shoot off, and then all the cars are slower behind Alex Aru, and he's got to jump on them for the rest of the race.
Well, it sounds like a good theory, but of course Alex Auer has the same ability to get off the line. Your ability to start the car doesn't necessarily need you to be an almost pro driver, which you'd have to say Marchi Lee is. Alex Auer's a very experienced driver, so they should both get off the line at the same pace. Neither of them have any time weight penalty or any weight penalty by virtue of not finishing on the podium in the first race, so they should get away strongly. Whilst Marchi wants to save his push to pass and hope he can out-drag Alex, Alex could use the push to pass to get ahead. Then, of course, Marchi's got the problem of somehow I've got to get past the CTVS car. So it's going to be an interesting thing. Now, of course, this is the second development, or one of the new developments, certainly, of the Audi R8 LMS Cup in the 2015 season, which is the standing start. We didn't do this in the first 3 seasons of the Cup, but standing start was introduced at the opening round in Zhuhai. Unfortunately, that race was actually brought short to just 3 laps. They didn't classify. They did classify the race rather, but they didn't score championship points. So essentially, Alex Young has won 4 races this year. He was classified as the winner of that race, but not awarded any points as a result of that. Of course, the last race that he won this morning, he was certainly given points there, and that's given him a good jump now in the championship over Frankie Cheng. But getting off the line, they've all managed to do it, and they've all been pretty clean, haven't they, Graham, so far this year? But it is a new thing, and it certainly won't be the same as getting off the line from the rolling start, where it's how quickly you can get down onto the throttle and get away without things like wheel spin. Because remember, these cars with push to pass are developing 600 or thereabout brake horsepower from the 5.2 litre Audi V10 engine, so plenty of power, a lot of things for the drivers to think about. But the standing start, of course, they're going to be very, very busy, and if you jump it, as we have seen so far this year, then you will be given a drive-through penalty, and that will just about negate any chance you've got in this race.
And let's not forget with Alex Young, with the extra weight back in P10, all the other people in front of him, they know that they've got a real chance now to eat into his leads. Currently, Alex Young's on 126, Frankie Chen 109, Thomas Fuelback's on 100, Aditya Patel 92, Marchi Lee 85, and Rahul Fry's on 80 points. So all the top 6, or well, when it comes to Alex Young, who's got that dead weight, as you can see, they now have this race to eat into his lead. So when we go into the final weekend in Shanghai, it could be a real exciting couple of races.
Well, what was the lead? The lead was 16 points. So 17 points. The lead's 17 points. There's 75 points still on offer. So that's a whole part of this field that if the top guys in this championship so far suffer any kind of setback, then they're immediately back in the pack. Now, it was interesting going to the drivers' interviews after the first race. Alex wasn't that buoyant because he knew he's starting this second race from position 10. The one advantage he had, which may have just slowed him ever so slightly in the first race, is he used his used rubber. Now, it was the rubber he'd used for Superpole and for qualifying, so he elected to keep his fresh rubber for this race. So here's the circuit, 4.563 kilometres, 16 turns. Very different to the circuit that was first opened here in 1963. It was actually designed as a NASCAR super speedway. They only got as far as the first banked oval. They didn't have the budget to complete the second banked oval. It's still down there, a bit further on from the end of turn 1. It's still there. But the circuit was pretty notorious for being so fast. Cars well in excess of 300 plus kilometres an hour. This is back in the 50s, the 60s and 70s. So it was a little bit too notorious, and they shortened it up, turned it into a road circuit, and it got very close to the 4.56k circuit, the layout that we have here today for rounds number 10 and 11 of the Audi R8 LMS Cup. And of course, after this, we're off to Shanghai in 3 weeks' time for the final round of the 2015 season, and there's still plenty to play for. As Graham just explained, the points are very close. There's still a lot of points left, and there's a lot of drivers, including the man at the front of this field, Alex Au, is well in advance of everybody else. He's excited. He wants that limelight. I'm at the front of the field, and he's disappeared because he has to pull up in his spot. Some of the more experienced drivers may be actually slowing things down to try and get some more temperature in their control Michelin tyres. So whilst Alex Young has a minor advantage, you'd really have to say, it'll only be worth tenths at best by having brand new tyres. He's got to use every opportunity he has. He's got the same push to pass. There's 12 push to pass this time for the drivers in the second race. He has the same opportunity as everybody else. He does have that 50-kilo weight penalty, and he's starting from position 10. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him, and I think that was playing fairly heavily on his mind, despite the fact he is now that 17 points clear in the championship.
So Alex Au is going to be resting in his P1 spot for longer than usual. Marchuli must be grinning from ear to ear now, realising that he's in P2. He's normally good off the grid, and if he can, he's got the right side, which is when you'll be watching it, the left-hand side from the head-on view of the grid. So he's got the inside line coming into turn 1, and the game plan is to get in front of Alex Au. Hopefully Alex Au will kind of slow the field up, and he can just gun it all the way through to build a healthy lead after the first lap. So they're all lining up. That's Alex Young, you're riding on his dashboard, and we're getting ready. The last guy will be Daniel Bilski in P17. It looks all set. We're just going to wait for the green flag to be waved to make sure that, there you go, everything is set. And we're getting ready for round 11. And it's race time here at Fuji, and has Marchuli got off to a fly. Alex Au is going as well, so Stefan Montesi, and also on the outside there's Aditya Patel coming off the inside. Also the 54 car of Thomas Fjordbach is trying to jump into the lead, and straight away there's chaos on the first turn. Marchuli though, Alex Au span, and he's taking off Fjordbach. That's a disaster, and also spinning there is also KOU from South Korea. So there's carnage on the first turn, but Marchuli somehow, by the luck of the devil, has actually got his game plan sorted out, and he's leading as they go into turn 4.
Alex Au looked like he got a little wheel spin off the line as they're still continuing this battle on. It's Rio Fukuda in there, that's Sean Thong in the 26 car, and Frankie Cheng immediately in front of him. Rahel Frey, of course, that iconic Castrol green car. But Marchuli did enough. There's some more action further back. There's a spin heading down out of 100R, turn 5, and that's Johnson Huang. And the 55 car, of course, he's making his debut this weekend, Vincent Florendo from the Philippines. So frustration for him. Hopefully he can carry on. But that was a very exciting opening part of this first lap, and plenty of action. There's Sean Tong now into action there with Rahel Frey. She's up to position number 4. This is really spreading the field out now, Graham. They've allowed Marchuli to get away, and this is exactly what he needs now. Alex Young, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Position number 7. He is moving forward, so a nice job for him. Rio Fukuda immediately in front, and Sean Thong, who was on the podium here. The Audi TT Cup driver, the young driver from Hong Kong, did such a great job in that first race. So it's going to be interesting. Safety car. We have a safety car being called onto the circuit. So clearly there is a little bit of carnage left as we look at the field coming to the line, but this has worked out very nicely, as we surmised it may have done for Marchuli. But what an exciting opening lap. Let's have a look at a bit of a replay. This is on board with Alex Young. He's just gone down the inside there of, no, sorry, this is with the safety car. You see the flashing yellow lights. This is live. So nice to see Marchie get that jump, but you could see the bouncing CTVS car off the line. So I'd say he got a little bit too much wheel spin and just was unable to get the car going, and that's allowed Marchuli to take that position into turn 1.
So let's just take a deep breath and work out, after a very hectic first lap, the positions. Marchuli is in the lead from Aditya Patel, then it's Frankie Chen. Rahel Frey, scythe through the field, is up to P4 from Sean Tong. Then it's Alex Young, who's in P6 from, he started on 10th in the grid. Roy Fukuda is actually now classed as P6 from Alex Young. Stefan Montesi is P8 from Jeffrey Lee. Thomas Fjordbach's in 10th place. Daniel Bilski is leading the amateur title, and here's a replay of all the carnage on turn 1.
Yeah, plenty of action there. Stefan Montesi went wide, but it was forced wide. Then a little bit of action just with Alex Au. Just caught a little bit out of position, and KOU, that was just an innocuous spin at the back, but you just look sideways. That was action between Aditya Patel and it looked like Thomas Fjordbach. There's so much going on as to who was where. That was amazing. They got through the first turn in race 1 quite cleanly. Now this is further on. This is at turn 5, and that's Johnson Huang And of course, we're talking about the Filipino driver, Vincent Florendo. So frustration for him. Looked like also David Cheng in the Michelin car, the American driver, caught out. So frustration too for him. So that's Johnson Huang, finished on the podium in the AM class. He's right in this championship hunt, up to second in the AM class standings after that opening race. So you see the bit of damage to the front left of the 51 BC racing car. That looks like it's heading towards the garage. So the team are going to have a look at it. This crack Audi Absolute Racing team is recovering some dive planes and bits off the corners of the cars. Of course, Graham, you don't want to run these. They're very strong. We've seen the Audi R8 as a very strong car. It's had some big hits and been able to be repaired and put back on circuit. But GT3 specification cars, which this is, don't like contact because the aerodynamic aids they have at the rear, on the side, and on the front corners, especially the dive planes, you see little winglets and the scalloped out corners of the front of the car. They do something, especially on the high-speed corners. They settle the car down. They're aerodynamic aids. You don't want to be knocking those off because in a circuit like this, there's another corner that's quite high speed. In fact, if we look at the entry speed, it's 85 k's. It's not one of the faster ones, but 100R, turn 4-5, is 170 kilometres an hour. And that's the sort of part of the circuit that separates the men from the boys. KOU started brilliantly this weekend, but certainly, Graham, that's not what he wanted to be doing this early in race number 2.
So we have 15 cars currently on track. Johnson Huang is just in the pits, and his car is being looked over as we are just waiting for Florendo from the Philippines just to tag onto the back of this long train. And in theory, the track seems to be cleared now, so the next lap we could be going racing. And Aditya Patel now, he's closed the gap with Marchi Lee, so he could be challenging into that first turn, but of course Marchi Lee will be controlling the field once the safety car comes in. So if you have got some pusher to passes up your sleeve, this could be a very good time to use them.
It certainly would, and we talk about push to pass. If we just have a quick recap on what push to pass is, it was introduced in the 2014 season of Audi R8 LMS Cup. It is a button on the steering wheel that provides the driver with an additional 50 horsepower for up to 10 seconds. It can only be applied in under full throttle, so it's not the sort of thing you want to bring into play in the middle of a corner. It's kind of pointless. 50 horsepower brings the car from around 550 up to around 600 brake horsepower, and that gives you the opportunity, if your opponent hasn't used their push to pass, to actually pull out of the slipstream and drive past. So it makes it very interesting. But of course they might use it too, and we saw in the first race Alex Young explaining that every time he wanted to get away from KOU, he said, I noticed he went for push to pass. So he said, I had to use my push to pass. So you're negating the advantage the other person has. We talk about when you use it in a race like this. You were talking to Marchi Lee before this race, and he was explaining that he wanted to get the jump on Alex out, get Alex to maybe hold the field up so he could get away without using the push to pass. So as the other drivers, as he expected, Alex Young, Rahel Frey and some of the other faster, Frankie Cheng and other faster drivers in the field started to come through, he had enough in reserve to drive away from them. That wound up not quite working out the way he wanted to do it, obviously, off the start. But that was the strategy that Marchi wanted to employ. Some of these other guys, as you say, on this restart, this might be their chance to attack and make up positions. Do you battle them, or do you keep it for later on? Tyre wear doesn't really come into it in a race this short, and now they're not really putting much wear onto the tyres. They're still behind the safety car. So that kind of comes out of the equation as we see Johnson Huang carrying on, which is a nice thing to see. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage to the left front of the car. Yeah, he looks like he's lost some dive planes too, which is going to make that car a little bit more difficult to handle in the higher speed corners. But for the gentleman drivers, that's not such a big issue. They don't tend to push as hard as the pro drivers, who are right on the knife edge. And we see that's often where they make up a lot of ground on the circuit.
So we've got the message that the safety car is coming in this lap, which means Marchi Lee controls the field, coming round turns 15 and 16. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of these drivers now are getting ready to have their fingers on that push to pass as they come now into the home straight, and we'll now have a restart. So we reset the clock, so to speak. 13 laps to go as Marchi Lee crosses the line, and it's all green, it's all good, and we are racing again at Fuji. And straight away Frankie Chen tries to overtake Aditya Patel, tries to get him up on the wall. Sparks fly literally here at Fuji. And it is straight away March Lee in the lead, but here's Frankie Chen coming as well as Rahul Fry. She goes wide, trying to go past there Aditya Patel, but she may be able to take him around turn 3.
Alex Young contact into turn 1 with that looked like Rio Fukuda, and that seems to have dropped him off. He's lost, still he's dropping right back. So that contact's actually created a problem. Now we're talking about this, the championship points leader. He's only 17 points up. The winner of this race gets 25 points. This is not what he needs. If this draws him into pit lane, this championship again is blown wide open, and Alex Young's great result in race 1 rather, is going to be blown completely out of the equation. Now Aditya Patel's dropping back. It was unusual seeing so many sparks underneath his number 8 Audi R8 going down to turn 1. That seemed most unusual. So whether he's had some level of contact off the start and he has something dropping under the car, could be the splitter, which is what we call the tray underneath the front of the car, dragging on the ground, and that's what made the sparks underneath the front of the car, and certainly his pace dropped off. Rahul Fry, she's no stranger to competition. Won last week in Europe in the GT Masters in an Audi R8 Ultra. She took advantage of that. As we see, this looks like Thomas Fjordbach, yes, in the 54 car, and Jeffrey Lee from J-Fly Racing battling over position behind Stefano Montesi. So Fjordbach's having a few dramas. He's a little bit further back than he wanted. This is for position number 9, so plenty of action going on. This is a complete contrast to the opening race, which was relative pedestrian. Watching a replay here. That is Jeffrey Lee on left of screen, Thomas Fjordbach on right of screen, and Jeffrey protecting position. So here we see the sparks again for Aditya Patel. That's not a good sign. I'd say he has the floor dragging underneath the car, and it might only be a limited amount of time before he is going to have to pull out of this. So he doesn't need this. Certainly it's been a tough last couple of rounds for the young Indian driver, who up to this point has been one of the championship point leaders.
Yeah, exactly. But Marchuli leads after 4 laps from Frankie Chen. Rahul Fry's on a charge. She looks like she could be right in the rearview mirror for Frankie Chen. 4th there, Sean Thong is having a good weekend from Roy Fukuda. Aditya Patel's now dropped down to 6th. Stefano Montesi is 7th. Jeffrey Lee 8th from Thomas Fjordbach. Daniel Bilski maybe in 10th place, but he's leading the Amateur Cup from Alex Arrow, who's dropped down to 11th. And then there's David Chen, Kevin Chen, Florendo from the Philippines, Johnson Wang is in 15th place, and Alex Young has dropped all the way down to P16.
This is Alex Young coming into pit lane just as we say that. He has a bigger problem, and that might be as a result of that contact he had into turn 1 with either Rio Fukuda or Sean Tong. You see them battling back further in positions number 4 and 5. They were pretty much locked together during the opening race, but the driver will take advantage of this now will be Frankie Chen, and he's no clown. And I mean that in the point of he's calculated what's going on here. He knows what he needs to do. He has a points buffer on Marchie Lee. So does he need to be working his way through to the lead, or is second going to be good enough for him to actually get the maximum points haul and be the comfortable championship points leader after this race? Frustratingly for Frankie, as Alex pulls in without an awful lot of haste from the guys around him, the crew don't seem to be moving too quickly, so that may well be game over for the round 10 winner, and that'd be disappointment. But for the championship, that really opens things up. That's Aditya Patel coming into pit lane, so that effectively negates the young Indian driver's championship assault. So that's very big disappointment for him. He came in here this weekend in position number 3 in the championship, locked on points with young Thomas Fjordbach, who we see the 3rd of the cars on screen there, and about to try and take a position away from Jeffrey Lee, who's still caught up in the walls. This is going to get interesting. Keep a close eye on this one.
So there's a 3-way fight going into turn number 3. Jeffrey Lee just drops down there. So Fjordbach, he may know that Alex Young is in the pits and he may not be coming out, so Fjordbach was about 26 points behind Alex Young, so all the drivers on track now know that they have a major chance in this overall series championship to really pull back this advantage that Alex Young had at the start of the race. And Marchie Lee still in the lead from Frankie Chen. Rahul Fry's 1.5 behind Marchie Lee. Fjordbach now has turned up the wick. He's on a charge. He's now looking to get into P6 right in front of Stefano Montesi. It's all going on now when they know the series leader is out at the moment in this round 11 here at Fuji, and Aditya Patel still hasn't come out either.
Yeah, this has really mixed things up. This is a great battle. Jeffrey Lee probably using a little bit of push to pass. Of course, a veteran in this series, been here right from the beginning, a big part of the Audi program, certainly in Taiwan, and a big part of the reason we're at Penn Bay earlier in the year. He had a lot on his plate that weekend, but we know he can be a racy driver. He's probably more towards the end of his career rather than somebody like Thomas Fjordbach in the early stages of his career, but a very experienced driver, and he won't be too easy to get around, as Thomas Fjordbach's finding out only too well. So a good run. Now it sounds like we might have Mark Dreyer down in pit lane, and he can give us a little bit more of an update as to what's going on in this amazing race.
DT, more bad luck. We saw sparks coming out of the car. What happened from your perspective?
I think on the start, basically what happened was everybody was boxed in and I was stuck in the middle. I had somebody hitting my right door, and then I had Alex Au on my left trying to cut across, and I was just in no man's land. So I was in a wrong place, wrong time. I think it caused a bit of damage to the car in the front somewhere, because in the corners I was pretty quick. I was holding on to Marchi on that lap, but the car felt good. It's just that once I got on the straight and the downforce kicked in, it just sat on the ground. And yeah, that's why even on the restart I had no speed. And then I felt the car jumping up and down. So
great. Thanks for talking to us. Okay. Back to the commentators.
The one thing about Adichie Patel you have to give credit to is he never has a bad day. If you go and talk to him, he's still got a smile on his face, but this really means game over for his championship, Graham. And for a guy who was so consistent, 7 top 5s in the early part of this season, he hasn't won a race. He's right in the championship. At one stage, he was the championship points leader, but it all came unstuck after that contact at Sepang last time out. The opening corner from the man on screen, the man leading this race, Marchi Lee, wasn't intentional. It was just part of what we saw in the first lap of this race. Tightly grouped bunch of cars racing for position, and unfortunately the car that was ejected exit stage left was Adichie Patel, and game over for him. He didn't need that. He needed to win a race. This weekend he needed the best points haul he could get. Sitting in pit lane next to Alex Young, the championship points leader, with 0 points to his name from this race. That's not what the young man needed. So, but still smiling, as will Marchi Lee be. You were talking to him after race 1, and he really needed to get on with this. He doesn't have the 50 kilo weight penalty he bought into race 1, into round 10, by virtue of winning round 9 in Sepang. But he is making the most of this. But they seem to have settled into a rhythm again. We saw this in race 1. Who's used push to pass, who hasn't used push to pass. They have 3 less opportunities for that additional 50 horsepower in this race. They need to be very careful and strategic about when they use it. Now, interestingly, with the Audi R8 LMS Cup, unlike most forms of modern-day motorsport, they have no pit-to-pit or driver-to-pit communication, so they don't know really what's going on. They've got to think this through themselves. We're talking about Frankie Cheng being a very smart operator. He will have worked a lot of things out in his head as to what this means for his championship as he's circulating comfortably in position. He knows he's got Marchi Lee in front of him. He's battling him for the championship. Behind him immediately he has Rahul Frey. Now behind Rahul Frey is Sean Tong, who took a very interesting line through that part of the circuit. Of course, that's turn 13. But he's not in the championship hunt. This is only his 2nd event of the year out of the 5 events that we have so far covered. So he'll be aware of that, but he'll certainly be aware of that green Castrol Audi in his rear vision mirror.
And do you know what's interesting? If Frankie Chen finishes 2nd, he picks up 18 points. He's currently on a 109, so when he goes to Shanghai, he'll be 127, Alex Young 126, and then you've got 50 points up for grabs for 2 races. It is truly game on.
And where is he going to be racing? He's going to be racing right in his backyard. And how many Chinese fans are going to come out of the woodwork for that one and support their hero, Frankie Cheng? I reckon that would be an amazing end to it. So he's aware of that. Does he need to take the extra 7 points? He might need to. He might not want to attack Marchi just yet, and we've seen how difficult Marchi can be to overtake. Now, that's just that he's a very experienced and relatively aggressive driver. Often he's involved in contact, and that contact doesn't end well, but he likes a fight. So Frankie's well aware of that too. Do I risk it and potentially still leave this round behind Alex Young, or do I just settle for 2nd and I am the championship points leader going into the final round? So this is not yet over. Rahul Frey's aware of that. She's a little bit further back in the championship, but if she can take both of them, then she starts to move back into the equation. But interestingly, of these 3, each one of them have missed a round, because we lost, well, we say lost, but certainly they had a big program on the weekend. We're in South Korea. Frankie Cheng, Alex Young, Marchi Lee and Sean Tong shared an Audi R8 LMS GT3 Ultra in the Nürburgring 24-hour race and finished 12th. They missed that round. Rahul Frey had a commitment in Europe, if you recall, and she missed the round at was it at Penbay? She missed the Penbay round, and that was taken over by Edo Mortara, who did quite a good job winning in her car. But that certainly brought her back in the points. But it's been so mixed this year, 7 different winners coming into this round out of the 9 rounds that we'd had. It's really mixed things up. It's been that close, and that's what a one-make series like this should be all about. And certainly the people from Audi are celebrating the fact that this series really is working very well. And you can see just how closely matched a veteran like Jeffrey Lee was. The third of the cars on screen now in the J-Fly Racing white and red and blue car, and the car at the left of screen there, which is Thomas Fjellbach, the number 54 Federal Mogul car. You can see just how closely they are matched on pace, because the cars are identical. The only real difference is the driver, and in some cases a weight penalty. So certainly very, very successful formula, and this is 4th season, so it's working very, very well. So we're going to hear from Mark Dreyer. He has some updates for us from pit lane.
Well, just a quick update from here in pit lane. Alex Young, just over my shoulder, watching the race behind me. Obviously, he's very upset, didn't want to speak to us, understandably, after what had happened. What did happen was that contact with Sean Tong broke his front suspension, so that's why he had to come into the pits and out of the race. But it does mean it's now extremely tight at the top of the championship, so very exciting from that point of view. Back to you guys upstairs.
So there are 14 cars still on the lap, and with Marty Lee 7 laps to go here. And also, let's not forget the Amateur Cup. Alex Aru is currently in 9th place, but he's leading from Kevin Chen and Daniel Bilski. That is your podium at the moment for the AM Cup. And I think Marty Lee's done a pretty good last lap, 1:42.047. So he is aware that Frankie Chen and Rahul Fry will be coming fast and hard. Here's the replay of the start again.
Yeah, you can see, look at the action into turn 1. Stefano Mattesi was just avoiding the rear of Alex Au. Now, Alex tried to go to the inside, but Thomas Fjordbach and Aditya Patel were battling over position. And further back, KOU did nothing wrong. There would have been just a slight delay, and he just got spat out in the middle. In fact, that was Alex Jung who hit KOU for position. Just a little bit further around turn 15. That is Johnson Huang coming into contact with the Filipino driver, Vincent Florendo. But up front, it was Marty Lee, and all he's done since that point, since the safety cars pulled back in, is just extend his lead. He's just done a sequence of 1:42 laps. He did a 1:42.4, followed by a 1:42.1. Frankie Cheng had done a 1:42.6 last time round, 1:42.62 for Rahul Frey. But you can see the gap now that Marty Lee has pulled over Frankie. I mean, it's only out to around 2 seconds. They can pull that back. But again, does Frankie need to do that? This is a championship on the line. And whilst it's great to win, as they say, great to win the battle, it might be the war that he's more interested in. That war, of course, is this championship, and he wants to win this championship. So does Rahul Frey. She's been doing this for a number of years, and she would be very happy to walk away with victory in Audi R8 LMS Cup in Asia. There's, of course, a very big part of the Audi family, as we see Thomas Fjordbach and Jeffrey Lee still going at it over position. And there's a little bit further back in the order. This is over position number 7. Fjordbach currently 7th, Jeffrey Lee 8th, Alex Au, the pole sitter, is still in position number 9, and as Graham says, he is the AM class leader. David Cheng, nice result too for him in the Michelin car in position number 10. So still plenty of action to go. Clock says just a bit over 8 minutes left in this 30-minute race, and still plenty to play for. Now replay slow-mo of Marty Lee coming through the hairpin there. That's a nice quick change of direction through turns 10, 11 and 12. Now we're back down into turn 1. The old circuit, a little bit further down the main straight. Stefano Mattesi on screen now. Number 39 Team Better Life car. Thomas Fjordbach ranging up behind him. Mattesi's been doing such a good job recently. Now Frankie Cheng's getting onto the power. He's just done the fastest first sector of the race. So he's clearly keen on starting to use his push to pass and see if he can gain some position back. Now, will he attack? I'm not going to take bets on it this time, because last time I took bets was that Alex Jung would have had some spare push to pass late in the last race, but he admitted in the driver interviews, I had nothing. I was just trying to combat KOU. And unfortunately for the two of them, they made contact in the early part of this race and are sitting out. In fact, Aditya Patel, Alex Jung, KOU, and of course Andrew Kim, who we saw eliminated in race 1, all sitting in the garage at the moment watching this race unfold, and I'm sure the fingernails of Alex Young will be starting to get shorter, because the way things are right now, Frankie Cheng is well and truly in the box seat to leave this event as the championship points leader.
And after round 10, I'm sure Alex Young thought he could actually get some points to stay in the hunt for round 11. But this is what's so great about Audi R8 LMS Cup. It's very unpredictable, very competitive, and if you make one mistake, then everyone's back in the hunt for this fantastic series. As we now come round, we'll be having 4 laps to go as Marchely goes across the line. Frankie Chen, I think, may have sped up a bit because he may be a bit worried about Rahul Freit, because Rahul Freit never gives up and he doesn't want to give away that second position, because as we have reiterated before, if Frankie finishes second, he will go to Shanghai with a 1-point lead in this overall title.
Yeah, you were talking about the pace of Rahul Freit, 142 dead last time to Frankie Cheng's 142.1. Marchie's still pumping out very, very good lap times, 142.2. We talk about qualifying pace. Qualifying pace was a 141.9. That was Frankie's pole time. During the Super Pole, of course, another of the new developments this year, the top 8 get to do a single one-lap shootout to set the starting grid. From positions 9 onwards, they are as per the first stanza of qualifying, but the top 8 get another chance to do it. And in that situation, Alex Young ended up on pole position with a 141.476. That's some 2 seconds faster than 2014. But talking to the engineers, certainly Paddy Roberts down there with the Absolute Racing team, he said the big difference, Sean, is that the temperature was 8 degrees warmer last year. That had an impact of 8 kilometres an hour on the end of the main straight. This time round, 272 kilometres per hour. In fact, 9 kilometres an hour difference. 263 last year. 8 degrees in temperature on a V10 naturally aspirated engine. You wouldn't expect quite a big difference. In fact, the engineers were a little bit surprised, but the conditions a lot cooler. The car performance a lot better, and certainly driver comfort will be a lot better too for these drivers as they get into the last 5 minutes of this race. But certainly it's settled into a bit of a rhythm. Marchely, Frankie Cheng, Rahul Freit, Sean Tong still in position 4. Rio Fukuda in position number 5 as we see another one of the replays through the slow speed corner. Change of direction right into the left. Will be position turns number 10 and 11. Stefano Montesi doing a brilliant job. He's been doing this a while, and the Italian driver could be qualified for the AM class. I mean, he essentially qualifies as an AM driver. Likes to put himself, he's on screen just going into turn 1 ahead of Thomas Fjordbach, likes to put himself in amongst the pro drivers to test himself. Now that's pretty impressive for a businessman. I mean, he loves his life, he loves competing, and he loves being in the mix with some of these young racers. But how impressive has he been? He started this race from the second row. He was inside the pole shootout again, and he's currently in position number 6. Thomas Fjordbach behind him, who's in title contention. Behind him, of course, Jeffrey Lee. We've been watching that race between those two drivers pretty much since lap 1 of this round. And Alex Au, again, position number 9 as the leading AM class driver ahead of David Cheng. But Marchely, the double duck Audi, very experienced campaigner, of course, 2012 champion, 2013 won by young Adderley Fong, who's racing GP3 in Europe, as well as the GT Asia Series for Bentley. And last year, Alex Young. So Alex was hoping to go back-to-back, first time ever, the former F1 driver. But as you said, quite rightly, Graham, it's a very, very unpredictable series because everything is so closely matched, and these drivers are very serious about the championship victory and what that means to them.
So Marchely is going to come onto his penultimate lap now. Let's just check the timings. The gap is currently 1.2, and he is now 1.4 seconds ahead of Frankie Chen. Rahul Freit is again 1.48 behind Frankie. So it looks like these three are set for the podium. Coming fast is Sean Thong in 4th place with Roy Fukuda. And of course, Stefan Montesi 6th. I think Thomas Fjordbach may be a bit disappointed with the weekend. I thought Thomas may have been able to get further up the grid.
He should have been further up the grid, and in fact was a little bit down when the driver interviews were on. He was watching the driver interviews with me, and I said, you need to be sitting up here with the top 3 next time, not standing in the crowd watching them. He said, yes, I know, but I'm not getting it at the moment. I haven't quite got the car right, or we haven't managed to engineer it to the point where it worked as well as it did in the early rounds. He was right in this championship hunt. Certainly when Marchie, Frankie, Alex and Sean went off to Nürburgring, and these guys had an opportunity to race at the front without that competition, they made the most of it. So when the boys came back from Germany, they had a lot of work to do. Certainly Frankie's been the standout because his start to the season was very poor. Missing a whole round was not on the cards. It's not what he needed. Now he's back into this championship. So Thomas very frustrated with himself. The Danish driver, young guy, races in the Blancpain series. In fact, won his class with his older brother Anders last weekend and in Germany. So he is a very serious competitor, does a lot of miles, almost won the GT Asia GTM class division last year. So has had experience on circuits like Fuji, but just can't put it together this weekend. And it's all about doing just that. It's about putting together not just one race or one round, but about putting together a season. And the man on screen, he knows all about that. As we say, the 2012 champion, the inaugural year of Audi R8 LMS Cup. But certainly the competition's got a lot hotter. 1:41.946 as the final lap board comes out. Marchie had some in reserve and he's going to use it. He's up by 2 seconds, but there's no way he wants Frankie Cheng to go after that. But I still surmise that Frankie's looked at that, he's taken it all on board and decided, thank you very much, I'll take position number 2 because I'll leave this race if I can get through the last 58 seconds as the championship points leader heading into my home race in China. And that'll make things really interesting because it's going to close the field right up.
So here is Marchie Lee, comes through the hairpin of turns 6 and 7. And just going a bit cross country there. That is Kevin Chen. Just try to take a shortcut there. Now, coming through, Marchie Lee knows he's nearly home. That's turns 10, 11 and 12. He's got about 4 turns to go now, Marchie Lee. Frankie Chen is obviously in the rearview mirror looking at Rahul Fry, making sure that she can't get anywhere near him to secure his second place on the podium. Comes around turn 15. Marchie Lee is going to be winner here, and he's done that very well. He knew from the start he had to get to the first turn in the lead and get past Alex Aru. Game plan executed to the T. And it's going to be a very happy Marchie Lee as he comes over the line, and Marchie Lee wins round 11 of the Audi R8 LMS Cup from Frankie Chen. Third is Rahul Fry. As we look out our commentary booth, we're just waiting for Sean Thong. He's now finished from Roy Fukada. Here's the battle between Florindo and also Johnson Huang. That's 13th and 14th. Jeffrey Lee finishes in 8th, waiting for Alex Aru. He comes over the line and he wins round 11 for the AM Cup class. 10th will be David Cheng. As he go past the line, now we're just waiting for the amateur class podium to be filled up. It could be Kevin Chen and Daniel Bilski as they go across the line in 11th and 12th. And finally, Florindo of the Philippines goes in front of Jocelyn Huang, and all 14 cars on the track have finished. So Marchie Lee wins here at Fuji, and it's game on as we go on to Shanghai for the last 2 rounds. And if you're watching here in China, come at the end of October and support your local hero Frankie Chen as he bids to win the Audi R8 LMS Cup at Shanghai Audi International Circuit.
It'll certainly be interesting. Now, I've just done a quick calculation. This should have Frankie Cheng on top of the championship points, 127 points. Alex Young recorded 0, so he's still on 126, 1 point in it. Marchie Lee, by virtue of finishing as the winner of this race, 110 points. Now, remember, there's 50 points on offer, so certainly it's going to be interesting. 95 points to Rahul Frey, so she's in with somewhat of a mathematical chance, a little bit further back. Thomas Fjordbach, 106 points. So he's only 4 points behind Marchie Lee. Marchie's the one who's made the big gain here this weekend, and this is race win number 2 for Marchie Lee. Of course, he won the second race at Sepang just 3 weeks ago. So he is right back in this championship hunt. But certainly we'd expect going to the final round, it'll be between Alex Young, who's been a race winner at Sepang before, and Frankie Cheng. and the Chinese driver will have a lot of local support, as Alex Jung did. He even had his fan club at Sepang when we were there last time out, and that helped him take the opening race victory. So if Frankie Cheng can use that to his advantage, we'll go into the final race of the season, and it will be down to the wire. So brilliant drive by Marchie Lee. He'll be overjoyed. This weekend's worked perfectly. Renault Koneberg there to meet him. He jumped into his arms last time we saw him, and he's done it again. Yes, great result. And it means an awful lot to Audi China and Renault Koneberg showing just that. It really is such a great series. And Bernd Gerz there as well, just congratulating the 2012 champion. He goes looking for back-to-back championships, but yeah, sorry, back-to-back, it's hardly back-to-back. Is it 2012 and 2015? But good result too for Frankie Cheng, who will leave this race now as the championship points leader. So nice result. We couldn't have chosen this one, and certainly we couldn't have predicted what would unfold during the opening corner or the opening lap. There are a couple of incidents, of course, and that put us into safety car, but we'll review that a little bit later. But looks like things are starting to heat up down there in pit lane, and Sophie's in position, and looks like she has caught up with race winner Marchie Lee. And down to you, Sophie.
Marchie, congratulations. What was the most satisfying thing of this performance?
I think I make an okay start. Then I have a jump in the first corner. Then I just maintain the pace. The safety car come in, I just keep calm. Then I think my pace is good enough to win. So looking forward in Shanghai. And Alex.
Good luck. And back to our commentator.
I'm not sure, Graham, he needs to be worrying about Alex. I think he needs to be worrying about Frankie. So, and that's what Frankie's done. He's sort of crept up. The last couple of rounds, he's been sleeper, is a term that we often use for somebody who's not making a lot of noise, not making a lot of fuss, but he's worked himself right back into this equation. So it's going to make it very interesting when we get to Shanghai.
And it's a level of consistency as well. So let's go down to Sophie. I think she's got Frankie down in Parc Fermé.
Hi, Frankie. Second finish on the podium, and you took 1 point lead ahead of Alex on the championship board. Yeah. And how does it intense going to Shanghai?
To be honest, I haven't thought about it, and you know, it's more or less, especially after the qualify I had with the car, and it was more or less targeting of damage limitation, and you know, going to Shanghai with leading the championship, you know, I could not expect that, and but I must say a big thanks to the team and to Audi, and have produced a very good car, and also a thanks to my mechanic for the hard work.
Thank you so much, Frankie. And back to our commentator.
A very happy Frankie Chen there. And of course, we'll be there in Shanghai, end of October, for the finale to this terrific Audi R8 LMScup.com is the website, and you can catch up with all the news and little vignettes and features as well, leading up to the final races of the season. Let's now join Sophie down with Rahul Fry.
Hi, Rahul. Lots of drama happening at the very beginning. How did you manage your pace on the track?
First of all, I had to manage to came through the first corner and then to came through the first lap because, as you said, a lot of action was going on. But I managed it well. Afterwards, the pace was okay, but more or less a tough weekend for us. I mean, P7 and P3 is not what we worked for, but in the end, the podium is nice for all the mechanics, as they always do a good job. But I will come back strong for Shanghai.
Thank you so much, and back to our commentator.
Nice result for Rahel, and she will come back strongly, and she's been doing a brilliant job over in Europe too in the ADAC GT Masters, which is essentially one of the German touring GT championships rather, and of course a long-term driver for Audi, drove for Audi in DTM, so very experienced campaigner, and she will be right in this hunt. You can never forget about it. But we will be back with you shortly with the podium presentation and celebrate that second victory for the 2015 season for Marchie Lee.
Okay, here's the celebrations for round 11. Rahul Fry had a fantastic drive and finishes third. Frankie Chen, he's even got a bigger smile because he goes to Shanghai leading the series. And Marchi Lee is king of the castle for round 11 as he wins here at Fuji International Speedway. So just waiting for the presentations, and we just can't stress enough, if you're around the Shanghai area, then come to the Shanghai Audi International Circuit for the final round, as now we take in the national anthems.
We take them. Doesn't work. Thank you.
Great result. Marchi Lee, this puts him right back into the championship, the 2002 champion. The championship points leader is the man who's immediately in front of him, Frankie Cheng, and Rahul Frey. She is right into this championship as well. So, geez, Graham, I tell you, it's going to be an absolute cracker. And you've seen the finals of the last couple of years. Have they been as close as this? Have they been as exciting? This season, the whole year has been incredible.
I don't think it's been as close as possibly 50 points for the two races, and I think Rahul Fry mathematically could still win the event. It's the closest that I've known for ever since the inception of the Audi R8 LMS Cup, and it's going to be a fantastic weekend. So as we say, if you're in Shanghai, come along to the Shanghai Audi International Circuit. We're going to be having two races there. The finale is going to be really exciting.
And of course, if you can't make it, we're live streaming, which is exactly what we're doing right now. If you're watching us, you can see the event by going to the Audi R8 LMScup.com website. Now, it's only just recently been upgraded and refreshed. There's competitions, there's all sorts of, there's even music. There's drivers singing, I believe, which is a little bit of a frightening concept, but certainly a lot of entertainment and a lot of news, social media between Weibo, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. You can get very involved in this, even if you can't make the round. So it's a fantastic series. not just for the drivers, but for the fans and for the competitors. And we see a lot of fans here this weekend. Of course, this is a World Endurance Championship round, but there's no real competition for them today. So they're here watching things like the Audi R8 LMS Cup, and they've been treated to a pretty good spectacle.
And you know what's the great thing about live streaming? There's no comcam, that they can't see us because we're too ugly.
Speak for yourself.
So here we go then. Here's the amateur presentation, and that is Daniel Bilski in 3rd place. And if memory serves me right, it's David Chen. And Alex Aru, he's had a great, I think that's a double, isn't it? I think he won the
That is a
round 10
double.
as well.
That is a double for Alex Au. He, of course, has been a former AM class winner, championship winner. And this year he's had a bit of a mixed season, has won some races. But that is another victory to Alex Au from Hong Kong. Daniel Bilski, also in Hong Kong, but an Australian. He is the championship points leader, and he needed to be on the podium. And, of course, in position number 2 is Kevin Chen. We saw him on the podium in the opening race. The J-Fly Racing 2nd racer, we saw him in the Taiwan race. The 3 races we had in the end at Penn Bay. And he figured in the results a couple of times and had run very strongly, but in the end ultimately had to sit out other rounds. But he's back here this weekend alongside team boss and fellow Taiwanese driver Jeffrey Lee in the J-Fly Racing team. But a good result after a very, very tough weekend from Daniel Bilski. Actually came from the airport in Tokyo to the event with Daniel, and he said, I've got a good points lead, all I need to do is consolidate. He had 1 race with the Audi R8 LMS Cup last year, it was here, and he won it. What he didn't need was for the power steering to fail in qualifying on the opening lap, then the car to catch fire while he was trying to put together with all his might 1 single lap to get a good qualifying position, and then he had to start from rear of field ultimately because the lap that he could get out of the car wasn't great. So the wheels well and truly fell off that trolley. So this weekend, the championship favourites, Alex Young and Daniel Bilski, have had to do this the hard way. So for both of them, they wound up on the podium, but the championship points lead they had has all but been negated. And I think you'll find, by virtue of a second full 25-point haul, that Alex Au will be right back into this championship. So certainly very, very interesting.
So we've had a great weekend here, and there in the shadows of Mount Fuji, we've enjoyed ourselves at this iconic speedway, and I'm sure we'll be back again next year. And we now just have 2 more races to go, and we head back to China and Shanghai, and it's all to play for, with the top 6 all going to be duking it out for the overall champions title. That'll be the last weekend in October. And don't forget, for the run-up to the final 2 races, check out our website, audi-r8lms.com. There'll be loads of updates, and we'll be taking a look again fairly soon. And back down to Sophie.
And with wins of Alex Young and Marty Lee and the 6 different faces showing on the podium, which once again turned that the Cup has turned out to be the most competitive in series history. Next up, we'll all be heading to Shanghai in China for the season finale, and we hope everyone can join us then. See you soon in Shanghai. Sign up from Japan.